Thank
And
you.
we are live
a couple of Duracell. Okay, there you go.
on the
I have the
lonely
Duracell.
TARDIS. Hey, what's happening?
Oh, we're live,
are
are we?
heading on a journeying through Time and space along
Yeah,
with
we're
Time
not
Lords.
no, we're not
I
going
gotta stop.
through the Time Lords like a Gallifrey and Curry, okay?
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
not happening.
I'm one of your luscious hosts, Dolly Demovsky. Joining me, the other two luscious hosts.
Don't call me that.
The beautiful,
what is happening?
glowing, the sparkly Sean Norton.
Hi.
I'm gonna put you on top.
I'm very uncomfortable.
He likes being on top.
And to his left, your right, and my above, the person above me right there, the underwhelmed Marcus Beer.
The refreshingly moist Marcus.
I like that, refreshingly moist. Always.
I know
wonderful.
he doesn't like that word.
I want to go back in time and start this show over. No, I don't mind the word. I just don't want to, moist Marcus.
It's the M&M you didn't know you needed.
Well, how are you guys? How are you, my beautiful, beautiful companions?
Are you dying?
This cup.
I am.
Why are you?
See, I have a TARDIS cup, and this TARDIS.
Oh, that's fun.
It's got scotch in it.
He's taking shots. See,
so
it's 7 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
This is not a scotch. This is
where
not a
he
shot.
is.
This is a belt.
Yeah, it's still of the alcohol hour where he is. Meanwhile,
he's been drinking since 3 o'clock his time.
Meanwhile, I've got coffee
on Friday.
I am a trophy husband.
Oh, was it a participation trophy?
It was. My wife says it's a participation trophy. Yes, gentlemen, it's wonderful to chat with you about this fantastic time of the year known as the end of a Doctor Who season and getting us all excited for whatever the future holds. But let's talk about the finale, as Marcus would say, the finale, the funknale. This was the Empire of Death, the finale of season 14, series 14, whatever they call of New Who. Sutekh tells everybody he has been latched onto the TARDIS since 1911 or whatever it was that he got stuck on there. And
1976.
There you go.
A long time.
A long time. And
12 regenerations.
Yes, and he's left a Susan Triad everywhere the TARDIS has gone. By the way, the TARDIS went everywhere. So, and these incarnations have figured out ways to kill almost all life in space and time, and so Doctor has to deal with it. They end up tricking Sutekh because the only reason that Sutekh has stayed alive is to somehow find out Ruby's mother. They trick Sutekh by sticking a leash on him, taking him through the time vortex, and therefore killing him and bringing all that life back to every place that had been killed by Susan Triad. And with that said, Ruby meets her birth mother, and it ends with a happy ending. But it doesn't, because Mrs. Flood shows up and says everything's happy except for the Doctor story, which is going to end in absolute terror. Gentlemen, I went first last time. Here's what we're going to do. I want a short, up to 2 minutes, quick shot at thoughts about this episode, because Sean gave us an assignment, which was to put a list of talking points, and neither of us did it.
No, I participated. I was the only one who provided the homework. I was the only one who did the assignment.
I'll have you know I already have my talking points.
I was sitting there. I had no power, and this show is so important to me. I'm in a bookstore where I left to do my day job that I stopped what I was doing and actually did the assignment, and you schlubs didn't do nothing. You didn't share nothing.
Nothing. We got nothing.
We can work through yours.
Nothing. We're mooks.
And by the way, I don't know. I kind of want to just freewheel it. I know we got your talking points or whatever, but
fine.
But let's go right into it. Can we go back to your recap? Can we? No. We're gonna rip. Can we go right back to the recap where you were like, oh, they put like a dog leash on him and dragged him through the time vortex.
It was super bungee.
What the? What are we doing?
I'm surprised
what?
he's not
Super
like
bungee.
He is a good Sutekh. Come on. There's a good boy. Follow the TARDIS.
She
Follow the
walked up
TARDIS.
to him and
You know,
then
rub
leashed
your
him
belly.
like I do my dog when he has to go outside. Like the god of death who's been around for like 12 regenerations and has seen every single thing the Time Lord's done and all the mysteries of the universe and just gets leashed and dragged out by a magical bungee cord, except they don't even confirm it's a magical bungee cord. And then, snip, the doors just close on the magical bungee cord, which survived the whole fucking time vortex, and he goes poof into the wind. I don't even know.
It doesn't make sense. Right?
Like I could go on and on and on, and I probably will because I can't help myself. What are we doing? What was that?
And ladies and gentlemen,
go
this
ahead,
was
Marcus.
my reaction on Friday night. So thank you, Sean.
That was wonderful, Sean. It was full of emotion. Marcus, I want to hear yours. Then I'm gonna do my reports.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm going to basically say, love the first 20 minutes. I thought the first 20 minutes were off the chain because at the end of the day, Sutekh fucking killed everybody. And I'm like, yes, this is going to be a culling. There's only going to be a few people standing at the end of it. Good on RTD. Clean sweep this motherfucker back into the next fucking millennium. And then the 20-minute window closed. And I had to look down because the show just fucking plummeted. Like a TARDIS when somebody cut the bungee cord. You know what I'm saying? It was sloppy. It was pretentious. It was Russell T. Davies at his most unfettered, unchecked bullshit merchant. I mean, it was absolutely miserable. I mean, I was really into that whole the death everywhere. The only good thing that came out of this, and I think this is where I'm going to cut RTD some slack. I think he just spent the entire season setting us up to remove the Chibnallverse. The fuse is the flux is gone. The flux has been unfluxed. Now with the Ood world is back and Rexicorical Phalabatorius and no doubt Scaro and no doubt Gallifrey. That's the unspoken. That's if it's been everywhere. If he's been everywhere, the TARDIS has been. The TARDIS spent a lot of time in Gallifrey, and it was destroyed. And now, thanks to the death of death equals life, the enemy of my enemy is my cousin's dog's uncle's what? Everything. The universe is fully populated. He unthanos that shit.
But we don't know if it applies to things that died before his little dusty death.
Oh, of course it does, because Russell T. Davies is nothing if not fucking lazy when he wants to be. You know, he can be like, I'm so clever. Look at this. The reason they didn't know about the Sutekh didn't wipe everybody out is he wanted to know about Ruby's mum. And Ruby's mum is ordinary. Oh, isn't that nice? Lazy, pedestrian, predictable. Like I said, this is Russell T. Davies at his worst when he forgets that Doctor Who is a sci-fi show, not a fucking kitchen sink drama like It's a Sin or Queer as Folk, which are excellent shows, but they don't have a fucking spinning blue box. So yeah, 20 minutes was great. After that, bunch of wank. And I certainly didn't need the 36 fucking endings like it was the Lord of the Rings Return of the King, where it's like, oh, look, Frodo, he threw it into Mount Doom. And oh, look, here he is in the bed. And oh, look, now they're getting on the boat. Oh, look, and now there's another. Dally.
I didn't love this episode. I thought this episode was fine. And the reason I thought this episode was fine, it was good enough. To me, it wrapped up a lot of this because it wrapped up a lot of the mysteries that we had, a lot of those threads we had in the season. And or I should say, the aspect that my first watch through of this, I thought, man, there's something weird about a dog leash just taking out a dog, right? It's just so so basic. It's like it doesn't fit in with science. It doesn't fit in with science, right? And then I took a step back, right? I'm like thinking, I'm like, well, how does it fit in with the rest of the season? Because everything has been supposedly leading up to this. It's okay. So do we have solutions that aren't based on science this whole season? Well, yeah, we have the boogeyman. That's not science, it's fantasy. You have, you kind of you have the music, the god of music. You have the toy, what's the toy maker, the toy, whatever, gods. Yeah, there's somebody's dog is barking. There you go. He's muted. Actually, I thought that was you barking, Marcus. No,
I'll wag my tail if you want me to.
The more I thought about this, the dog that was barking was Sutekh. He's back. The more that I thought about it, the more I realized this fit in with everything that the season has been leading up to, in that fairy tales became real with the Christmas episode, right? That sort of leaked into this universe. And when the doctor and the flux and all that kind of stuff, he opened up this alternate reality that's fairy tales are now part of who. And each of these, there's gods, there's god of death, god of music, god of mischief, the toy making. These were gods that were within the now Doctor Who canon, I guess. Each of them were defeated by a toy box, a piano, and now a dog leash, all very simple solutions. And I'm not the first person to say this. I actually, I hopped online. I was trying to digest this, and I saw a couple folks were mentioning that. And I started thinking, that's right. These were almost fairy tale endings, fairy tale solutions to a lot of these things. You had even the bird people who were tricked into, how they were sort of tricked into the triangle thing, I guess. So, and then, so I thought, okay, it does fit within that. So that kind of eased my feelings once I took a step back and looked at the season as a whole. Again, didn't love this episode because I would have loved the Tenant level of finale stuff, which I always like. But I understood this episode. I just wished that it was telegraphed and plotted a little better in this episode for that theme of fairy tales. Now, the thing that I did like and I really liked was Ruby's mom. That whole aspect, to me, that felt fantastic because I love. Was it the Last Jedi, where it was at some point they said anybody could be force sensitive, right? For Star Wars fanatics, the force isn't tied to just a few lucky people. It could be anybody. You could be a kid grabbing a broom using the force. And so that's sort of the reverse here, which is you don't have to be special. The whole point of this was the least special person, and the way they explain it, the least special person possible is Ruby's mother. Just an average person, a girl who had a baby out of wedlock, didn't want the baby to suffer and gave the baby away. A very human, normal story. She went on to become a nurse. She takes pictures on Instagram. She's not an influencer. She's not a supermodel. She's just a very normal human being. And I thought that was really cool. And I also loved Ruby's reaction to her mother when she first saw her. The doctor says, "You don't want to do it. Hold on. I mean, there's a lot that could happen. It's better that you don't do this because of it." And then she just takes off. I thought that was very genuine and very natural. Anyways, didn't love the episode, but I thought it was fine. But I did love the points that they were making. I just wish some of the stuff was plotted out a little bit better and more apparent to viewers, because I saw a lot of furor out there. So go ahead, Marcus. Those are my thoughts.
I have one question about this whole Ruby's mom thing. So it turns out that in the VHS hologram, that the Ruby's mom was pointing, and we thought she was pointing at the doctor or she was pointing at the TARDIS. No, she was pointing at the street sign so that nobody who was around except a baby in a fucking KFC bargain bucket on the steps of a church could say, "Oh, my name's Ruby because she pointed. That's why she named me Ruby." I mean, look, that kid could have been called Churchy fucking Sunday. Mm-hmm. She could have been called Road Sunday. She could have been called Abandoned Little Shit. I mean, she could have had any fucking name. The fact that that whole thing, that whole point is
Sure.
It means something. It's got to mean something. Oh my God, it's breaking through the dark. Whatever. Stupid. Lazy, stupid, bad Russell T Davies, bad. So first of all, that was pointless. They could have taken that whole pointy thing out. Boom, got rid of it. Now look, I'm with you, and that I understand where you're coming from with regards to not everybody has to be special. Yeah. I mean, hell, look at this.
I think it's great.
I mean, 2/3 of this podcast aren't special, but then there's me. I am. So I have a little bit of. I have a higher expectation. The fact that
it's because he's Welsh, isn't it? It's because he's Welsh.
No, it's just because I'm fucking gorgeous, mate.
Yeah,
so as Mike Zero says in our comments, he says that, and I didn't see this anywhere because this would have scared the shit out of me had I read it. He mentioned that Ruby's story, he modeled it off Rey from Star Wars. So. Yeah, because that turned out so well, didn't it? That whole sequel trilogy just turned out so well. So yeah, I'm really kind of. I just no need.
Stefan had kind of the same thing that viewer Stefan said the same thing that you kind of said. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's standard Russell. He promises a lot. He starts off with a bang, and then he just delivers with an absolute whimper. The fact that, much like in the last episode, there were fucking hugs galore and everybody's cuddling. We got a soap opera ending. I mean, if you take the first 20 out of the last episode and the last 20 out of this most recent episode, you actually have a good episode there because you're getting rid of all the faff and the twaddle because they are not the most important parts. I'm sorry, the community, the hugging, everybody's part of a team, and the Doctor wants to give everybody a sly hand job and a cheeky finger. That is not the most important part of Doctor Who. Doctor's a fucking alien. He is the most important part. And since this reboot, and I'm talking about going back to 2005, and even BBC America, this was some sort of meddling, where they insisted that it has to be told from the companion because the companion humanizes. Well, the companion only works if it's a good companion. So Ruby Sundays had a couple of high points. We know this. 73 yards. Oh, 73 yards, the exact distance that the perception filter stops working. Again, doesn't answer a question, just goes, oh, look at that. You noticed that in the 73 yards. See, I called back to that. He needs to cut back on the kitchen sink drama. He really does. It's just too much. Next we expect that Millie is back next season.
Yes.
He has said she's back. So this whole twaddle about I'm going to stay with my mum and my mum's mum and my cousin's mum and every mum in the world. And then we're going to Manchester and we're going to be mad for it and we're going to rob a car and shit like that because people in Manchester do that. It was just too much. It was just too much and totally derailed the show. It totally derailed the last two episodes, which could have been, you could have had one really outstanding episode there as opposed to two fucking mediocre ones. And it's time for Sean. We need to unmute Sean. He's been winding up. He's got so much stuff to share and stuff I really agree with. So with great honor, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Sean Norton. Take it away, S-Man.
You covered a lot of it already. First of all, I'm pulling receipts from 9:29 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, where Dolly was like, I love this episode. That's all I'm going to say about it. I love it.
Yeah, we have it in text.
So let's not go back on that now because you realize that you're on the wrong side of history, sir.
Yeah.
But jokes aside, you did cover a lot of it. I agree. Now I'm back down. I'm cool. I'm calm. The bungee cord around his neck, the god of death that everybody's afraid of. I'm fine. I agree that the first chunk was strong. We talked about it on Friday, our immediate reactions to it. We were all aligned with that. I am just so underwhelmed. And because I'm underwhelmed, I'm disappointed. And because I'm disappointed, I'm sad. Because this could have been so much more. And I'm reading a lot of,
Sure.
well, this is just Russell T Davies, and this is what he does, and this is how. And no, man, like that might have been true from 2005 to 2009. And by the way, some of his endings, even though they were kind of weird and fantasy, whatever, they all made sense, and they all stuck the landing in their own ways. Not all of them, but when they did stick the landings, they did. But this is now a guy who's gone on to do other things in television, who is critically acclaimed, who's got tons of experience, and he should be better. Like this should have been better than what was delivered here, in my opinion. And we should not be accepting of the fact that it's the same. Oh well, this is just kind of his. No, like it's not 2009 anymore. It's not the Doctor floats on the whims and the wishes of the satellite network, which by the way still made more sense. Like still was built up better than a random woman who was not special and that we've been conditioned to believe is special, and then we get shellacked as like a meta commentary because fans just put too much into things and they make something out of nothing, and because this all existed because everybody wished it into existence. It's like, no, man, like no, we went on this journey from the very beginning because you set this mystery for us. You told us this was important. You told us, you had a demigod tell us that there's a song in her heart that scared the hell out of that god. What was that? Nothing. Maybe it'll be explained next season, but that doesn't matter because now we're at the tail end of, not even the tail end. We have wrapped up this whole season. We've been promised explanations, and the ones we've given don't make any sense. They don't make any sense, and what's worse is that it makes me feel like a fan that I wasted my time and that I'm being sort of like meta commentary, not with the show overall, but with these mysteries and with investment into speculation and everything like that, because it feels like a meta commentary on us that, sometimes it's a person's just a person, and sometimes the most special people are ordinary. That's a fantastic message. That's a fantastic message. But to Marcus's point, to your point, I think it's not wrapped up in any of the things that the show goes out of its way to explain. It doesn't follow the same rules that have been established in the universe. It is all set up and no payoff. Pointing to the sign makes no sense. A 15-year-old in a dark cloak in 2005, 4, that is so like somehow time paradoxical that even the TARDIS, the sentient time traveling machine, can't see her face, and Sutekh, who has been through hell and back, literally, and all of time and space, is obsessed with her face. Why? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense for what was established in this season.
All the 15-year-old girls in 2004 apparently were rocking the fucking full-on Little Red Riding Hood.
It was very popular.
It was a baller cloak. It was a baller cloak.
Fucking move. You couldn't move in British villages for 15-year-olds in cloaks dropping babies off.
It's just, and we get this amazing build-up, this amazing revelation that it's Sutekh, and the bait and switch with the wrong anagram and all that stuff. The god of death who snaps his fingers, who has had this millennia-spanning plan, and he gives it all up, and it all gets toasted out because, for whatever reason of everything he's ever seen, this girl with this doctor and her mom is worth pausing his universe genocide, where he's 99% done, to figure out what her name is and what her face looks like. And then I know I keep harping on it, but like, I love this show in part because we have this guy or girl or person, Time Lord, who is smart and crafty, and even when he's at his worst and he's broken down, like Shooty, one of the best scenes of the whole series was when he was screaming into the void because he was enraged and sad and terrified and broken.
That was cool.
It was incredible. It was incredible, and we should be talking more about that. We should be talking more about his performance and the charisma and the wonderful job they did with the material. But instead, all I keep thinking about is how we have this god of death that was just like literally just a dog that had chased the ambulance, caught it, literally didn't know what to do with it, and then get lassoed and thrown into the time vortex to die. And death becoming death and all that. Like, I don't even care about that. That's whatever. Like, that's Russell T Davies, Doctor Who fantasy stuff. Fine. But the lead up, good. The mystery, good. The payoff, bad. And the meta commentary that things are only important because they make them important. We make them important. Bad. Like, it's just, And now we're supposed to end this episode, and suddenly we've got a new mystery, and Mrs. Flood is there for some reason, breaking the fourth wall, talking to us.
Romana cloak.
Yeah, or her Clara sweater in the bedroom. Yeah. And now we're supposed to do this all over again next season, and of course we will because I'm a junkie. But it's hard. It's hard to take it seriously because, like, we're going to go through a Christmas special of the 8 episodes next season, and Mrs. Flood is just going to be a retired grocery store worker who isn't actually anybody special or a Time Lord or a fucking demigod, and we're all going to be like, guys, I told you, what are you doing? Maybe fans just sit back and enjoy the show, waka waka. And it's just like, it's just so disappointing. Like, it's such a letdown. And I haven't even talked about the unit stuff, and I haven't talked about enough about the goddamn pointing to the street sign.
The pointing was
Nobody was around. Nobody was around to see it. Or the hints of like, oh, the TARDIS memory changed. That night changed. The Doctor's remembering it differently. Why? What, like, because it's fantasy and because, like, and then, of course, all the stuff with I don't know. I'm just I don't know.
If a woman points at a street sign and there's nobody around to see it, does the baby still get named? I know, exactly. So I want to raise a couple of things.
What if she was pointing to Burger King?
Imagine. And then she recognizes the name 19 or 24, however old Ruby is later, and it's like, oh yeah. Oh, sorry. One other thing I want to talk about. I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. The whole show, like I can't remember. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I have any of these points wrong. But the whole series, we don't know who she is. We can't figure it out because the TARDIS can't trace her. The DNA records in London in modern times currently don't exist. The future ambulance can't find any trace of her in the far future or in the past, which means she has no family front or back. But the Doctor just kind of hangs out and lands at unit and is like, poof, there it goes, found her mom.
All right, so yes, you raised plenty of salient points. I do want to give out a couple of compliments. First of all,
please.
When they showed the Pyramids of Mars stuff, and the Doctor popped off the line about cultural appropriation, that was very valid, and that's obviously a blast to what's going on with the government and the British Museum right now, because obviously during colonial era times, England ransacked the fucking world, and right now it's a reference to the Parthenon marbles, which are marble things that have been stolen away by the British Museum and the English back in the day. And this is what they did. This is what the English did. Oh, we're off to explore the uncivilized world. What's this? A pyramid with all your royal history and everything? We're going to fucking steal it and stick it in a museum because that's what we do. So yes, that was great, on point. Some people have misinterpreted it as a slight on the show in 1975. I actually think that's bullshit. Because that show, while it does have some of the traditional 1970s BBC casting that's an issue, I actually think that it's certainly a lot better than perhaps some of the other ones. Next thing I want to do, I want to give a shout out to the fucking legend that is Bonnie Langford as Mel.
She's great.
Bonnie Langford. So child star in the UK while I was growing up. She was in shows like Just William and a bunch of others. She basically, big, fussy, red hair. She could sing, she could dance. She was basically derided as this annoying child performer. And her run on Doctor Who originally was not the best. But I mean, again, she had to deal with some
that was in the 80s, correct?
Yeah, it was coming to the end. It was the end. It's coming to the end of the thing. But I got to say, last couple of episodes, I would love to see her back in the TARDIS on a regular basis because she's got this air about her now. Been there, done it. She doesn't drop into cheesy. She obviously does the undercover work really, really well. So I thought she was absolutely fantastic. Mrs. Flood, we don't know what the fuck's going on there. But those are the two things that I really wanted to call out and give some props to. Now, I want to talk about something that's going to be controversial.
Wait, before we get to that, hold on, time out.
Okay.
You're right on all the compliments. And there is good in this episode. I know, I don't want to reopen our debate about hugging and emotion and whatever. I know we have different opinion on that. And that's totally fine. I will say, though, that the performances by all the main players here have been fantastic all season. Even when they haven't had the best material, whether or not it's Space Babies or I know we have different opinions on the Beatles episode or whatever, they still, in my opinion, knocked it out of the park. I think Ncuti has been fantastic in the role. I'm excited to see him continue to put his sort of stamp on this. I was disappointed. I know it's a recurring theme, even though in the compliment section, I was disappointed that the doctor was just, for some reason, he's like, "No, I gotta go." She's like, "But you can stay. We've been together. We could do this." And he's like, "No, I gotta." He's like, "But why? Well, no, you don't. You don't have to go. You do this kind of stuff all the time. You could pop back in." And I know he's gonna come back, but I don't know. Like, I feel like we were finally starting to scratch the surface, given the abbreviated season count and the sort of weird pacing issues, and that we were really getting into a good groove with the Doctor and the companion relationship. And now I'm kind of bummed that that's not, as far as we know, going to take place as a primary way next season. But now we're going to have a new companion, and she'll be back, which won't be back. I don't know. I just thought they were really good together, and I thought they were really hitting their stride. And it feels like we're kind of losing that a little sooner than I would have liked. And then in our comments here, I agree with Mike that this does feel like a backdoor pilot for Unit. I actually said that to Val when we were watching together. I don't know how. I mean, we'll watch it if that is the case. If they do eventually announce more in this Whoniverse, which they alluded to a while ago, I don't know how I feel about it after this. But you know, I'd be curious to see where they're going to take it. I agree. I don't know that we're going to get anything about a Sea Devils centric show. I would imagine that's more of a unit kind of plot thing. But there were things to like here. There were. I know I've been ranting and raving like a lunatic, and it's not usually my style, but that's just because I cared so much and I was so excited for this finale, and I feel like I was let down. But there's plenty to like. So Marcus is right about that. Dolly, you're right about that too.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Okay. So,
all right, what's your controversy of the week?
Let's do it.
It's my controversy of the season. And it's interesting because it goes against some of the things I've already said this season and a lot of the things that you have said. Now, I don't know whether it's writing or performance or the fact that he came directly from another show. But I am not liking this version of the Doctor as much as I did at the beginning. I don't think Ncuti's owning it the way he should. I don't think when you compare him to the other first seasons of several actors, Tennant, Eccleston, Matt Smith, Capaldi, I know it's old white guys, or middle-aged white guys, or young white guys. And so I don't want to put this down as a race. I don't want to put that. I know I'm talking about, I'm comparing him to a bunch of, various age white guys, because people are going to say, "Oh, you're against gay people. You're against people of color." No, I'm fucking not. All right. Fucking love everybody except Republicans. But I got to say, I don't think he's stretched his wings. I don't think he knows what his Doctor is. And now maybe that's part of this therapy, that the rehab that they're doing in reverse, and as next season starts, we'll move on. I think the best performance we've seen from him this season, ironically, was in an episode not written by Russell T Davies, and Boom. I thought that was probably his best performance. He had some good bits everywhere else. At the end of like Happy Fucking Fun Time, Dot and Bubble, and the scream in the finale, but I feel he's not put his stamp on it yet. I don't know if it's because of the way he's, he had to finish off Sex Education and come in midway through some of the filming, and he's not really perhaps had a chance to really invest in it. And all I can hope is that the Christmas special, which is done by Stephen Moffat, is something that's good enough to really tax him, and we can basically move beyond what is becoming Crybaby Doctor. Well, now, and let me finish, please. I think he's a very fine actor. I've seen him in Sex Education. I thought he's fantastic. I just think he's been undercooked, underdeveloped. I don't think we've seen enough of him leading the way by himself. I think it's been too much of Ruby Sunday leading the episode or somebody else, and he's been annexed off. It doesn't feel like a season of Doctor Who, and that started with the Christmas special, where it's not necessarily, you don't really see a huge amount of the Doctor. It's all about Ruby Sunday and the baby and the goblins and blah, blah, blah. And I'm tired of it being told from somebody else's perspective. I want to see this alien. I want to see this alien who's experienced so much, who's dealing with fucking trauma still. I mean, no matter how much PTSD therapy you have, trauma is still trauma, and it's with you your entire life. And he's been through enough for 10,000 lifetimes. And I really hope we just get to see a little bit beyond the crying Doctor. Because I would hate to have to, for next season to be just flashes of what he can do. And like I said, I know he's a great actor. Much like his predecessor in the role was a great actor. And before him, when we had Jodie, fantastic actor, underserved. And I just don't want this to happen with Ncuti. And that's just my personal opinion. Discuss.
Sean, you want to go, or do you want me to go in?
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to ask for clarification on what made him feel like he's not the Doctor. Because you mentioned first seasons of Tennant, Capaldi, and Smith, among others. I think you kind of touched on it, so maybe my question is redundant now. But you said he's underdeveloped, comparatively speaking. I guess I'm trying to see from your perspective of what's missing versus those first seasons, because I think that the challenge I have is I wind up having watched and rewatched the show so much, all of those runs kind of mash together for me. So I have a harder time distinguishing the early versions of them owning the role, not owning, coming to terms with the role, like really getting into it, versus what we think of, or at least what I think of them now as those Doctors. So I was going to ask if there are any specific examples or comparisons you've been making, because I know you've been thinking about this a lot. Or maybe, like you said, underdeveloped and very emotional is kind of, and not leading the way enough is maybe the answer.
I think the problem is we haven't had a Doctor-centric episode.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at all the episodes, they've all been from somebody else's perspective. He shared the limelight with somebody. And I don't like the Doctor in the background. The Doctor is a front and center kind of person. At the end of the day, it's always sad when a companion leaves, but a companion is basically a fucking peripheral. The companions and the companions' family and all the friends they have all the way, they are peripherals. And it's, they enhance the show, but they're not the core of the show. The core of the show is that wacky person in their spinning blue box that goes all over space and time. And I think this season, for whatever reason, forgot about it. Because if you look at Star Beast, you look at Wild Blue Yonder, and you look at The Giggle, those were Doctor-centric episodes. Yes, we had Donna. Donna's a known quantity, and she's coming back, and it's told from her perspective in a couple of things. But we know what to expect because we know her. We know David Tennant. What we haven't had, and I hope this comes in season 2 or whatever, is we need Ncuti to have a midnight episode. He needs to be stripped away from the TARDIS. No Sonic. It needs to be his or their Doctor coming to the fore, because we don't know who this Doctor is.
So you want to boom without the Ruby, or without as much Ruby? Okay.
That is it is no coincidence that the one that perhaps was more heavily Doctor perhaps than a lot of the others didn't have a romance subplot, because there's nothing wrong with those. Absolutely, they're great, but we don't know enough about this Doctor. We are now 9 episodes in, or 9 1/3 if you include the end of The Giggle. And we are still no closer to figuring out who this Doctor is, apart from, telling everybody they're gorgeous and having this really weird Scottish, Rwandan English accent that's beautiful, by the way. I do love it. It's weird, but it's so beautiful. And this Doctor is fearless but terrified. I don't know who this Doctor is. We've had the Raggedy Doctor, we've had the Time Lord Triumphant, we've had the female Doctor, who was crippled by not being able to develop her character because of the shit you write there. So I would just like to see who this is, because we know who we get from Tennant. We know what we got from Matt Smith and Capaldi and even Eccleston for one season. But we're now 9 1/4 episodes in on Nshute's reign as the Doctor, and you only get 2 or 3 seasons, maybe 3 seasons of Ncuti, and we know he's gone, or they are gone. So they're a little bit late in bringing this Doctor forward. We need to know what's going on. We need to know where they are.
Do you think... No, just one question, Dahlia. Do you think we got the best glimpse of that in the very beginning of the Christmas episode, the very end of The Giggle, and then in Rogue? And the reason I ask is because I think you make a valid point about having a lot of companion-driven episodes and him being a sort of secondary reacting to things character, but I also think we've gotten fairly vivid, if not brief, glimpses of this sort of until I land on something better, I'm going to call him Stupid Sexy Doctor, where he is, yes, he's emotional, but he's also freewheeling. He dances, he flirts, he wears his heart on his sleeve, apparently, at least with Rogue. He is quick to act, but he's also very quick to, process emotion in that sort of fun way that we've never seen before. So do you think we've gotten glimpses of that? Do you count those kind of, and we just don't have enough of that? Or do you think that we can't even really use that to sort of build out who this version of the Time Lord is going to be? And I apologize, Ali, I didn't mean to step on your toes.
So I know, we'll go to Danny in a second, so I just want to answer that. I think the problem is we've got no fucking baseline. We have no baseline with this Doctor because it's all over the shop every episode, and that's assuming the Doctor's in the episode for more than 40%, 50% of the episode. Was it Stefan talks about the Capaldi episode that we loved, where he was stuck in the loop before breaking through the glass into Gallifrey. That was an amazing episode, and we watched this Doctor work shit out, and we could tell this Doctor was angry, and I understand that this Doctor's going to wear his heart on his sleeve, but if this is because of the therapy and the PTSD that Tennant's Doctor is off doing, it's a woeful disservice to anybody who's been through PTSD and therapy. Because it doesn't turn you into a gibbering, crying, so-and-so. This Doctor's so in touch with with their emotions. Fine, give us some proper anger then. Give us, let this Doctor express something more than crying. And I know I keep on going back to this crying and crying and crying. I would just like to see something beyond this Doctor who's alternately terrified and just crying their eyes out. Maybe that's Ncuti. Maybe this is the Doctor who cries. Maybe that's Ncuti's one acting, superpower, making a tear roll down his cheek or their cheek. I do think it took. Sorry. Well, no, it took us 2 seasons to get to that Capaldi, and he was a great actor too. But it did take us 2 seasons to get to him smashing through the glass.
We didn't love that first season of Capaldi.
His first season, his entire shtick was angry man trying to figure out if he was good or not. Of course, we all knew he was good.
Yeah.
I think that, and I will let you talk, Dahlia. I swear to God, I'm sorry. Right. I do think that kind of ties back into the question I had before, which is, are we mashing up all of our thoughts of what those other, like, we know now in hindsight who those Doctors were and what they became, Raggedy and whatever you want to say, Tennant flirting with the Time Lord Victorious and whatever, versus when they were trying to figure it out too. And I'm not saying we're right or wrong. I'm just, It's interesting for me to think about because we had so much content that wound up shaping those characters versus those first 8 episodes of each of them. And I wonder if we slice those out and look back at them. I don't know. I mean, Tennant might be an exception here or whatever, but I don't know that we knew for sure who those doctors were at that point.
I will say, I mean, I'll throw out Eccleston. I mean, Eccleston, he had one.
A lot of people will throw him out.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, his personality issues aside, I mean, he, Dalek. That episode, I've quoted it before, and I'll say it again. That was you could see the abject fear, the terror, etc., etc. There's been nothing. I mean, Dot and Bubble at the very end. We saw, the hurt and the pleading and so on. I just need a little more. I mean, I'm just hoping.
So I'm gonna let me chime in here.
Unleashed.
We're running very short on time here, so I'm gonna chime in for a couple minutes. And say a couple of things here real quick. One, I am a firm believer that every Doctor Who incarnation should be taken as a completely new show. In that Ncuti Gatwa Doctor is a completely different show than Jodie, which is a completely different show than Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, David Tennant. For me, when I first started watching Doctor Who, I was very upset that my doctor, David Tennant, disappeared. I grew very attached to him, that he is forever going to be my doctor. I loved his portrayal. Matt Smith comes along, very different type of portrayal, and I thought, this isn't Doctor Who. Doctor Who needs to be this, because David Tennant did such a good job, and I'm upset that it's not David Tennant enough. Well, guess what? Matt Smith grew on me because writing, because of storytelling, because of Matt Smith. Peter Capaldi, same thing. When Peter Capaldi came in, I was very excited for Capaldi, but that first season was a letdown for me because his character, his portrayal was just anger, didn't like humans, felt humans were below him, and I felt, I'm not digging this type of doctor. But at the same time, I figured, but this is a different. That's when I first started thinking, this is now a different show than. Or realizing this is now a different show with each incarnation. Jodie was the same way. I never really was a fan of the storytelling there. I thought Jodie did a great job what she had, but and now we have Ncuti. I am extremely optimistic with Ncuti. I'm on the same path as you, Marcus, in that I think Ncuti is going to work if he gets the type of, and I think he does work right now for the type of stories that they're giving him, which is smaller, bite size, nobody knows who he is, the doctor doesn't matter type of stories. I want to see, like, the closest we got was these last couple episodes and maybe the Christmas, the beginning of the Christmas episode. I want to see a doctor against an entire universe that knows him type of plot, because we do get those in different doctors, different stories. We saw that a lot with Capaldi, a lot with Matt Smith, where all the enemies came out of the woodwork in groups to take him down. We had the Master. We didn't really have a formidable enemy that was given in this episode, like that made those, like Missy to me was one of the best antagonists in a long time, because she kept showing up and she kept poking at the doctor to the point where you were excited for her to make a comeback, to show up again. We didn't have that this season. I think that is, as good as the doctor is, or is supposed to be, the antithesis of the doctor, which is death. I mean, doctor is the bringer of death. Didn't really show up to the very end of the season, and it was kind of a letdown from that standpoint. I would have loved to see within these episodes at some point have sort of this larger universe type of story, just to level set that the doctor is bigger than bigger than helping one person go on. This is because this season really felt like a companion based serial of the week type of season, and that very small stories. Yeah, they had great cast. Yeah, they had some kind of bigger things happening, but they kind of felt very self-contained. And so I want to see the doctor in a very big story. I want to see Ncuti in a very big story, because I love his energy. I love the anger that he showed, because it's an emotional anger. It's not like it's not a contained anger. It's very explosive. When he screams out the door, that to me was one of the most impactful moments of the season. When he's just like, he has given up. He was angry. He was fearful. He erupted, and I thought that was cool to see. I want to see this Doctor in a bit. I want to see him in a Dalek story where there's millions of Daleks. I hate to bring up the Daleks or the Cybermen because they keep coming back, but I think maybe it is time to put him in one of these types of stories so that we can actually test his mettle against that type of enemy. Anyways, as I said, I really enjoyed Trudy's portrayals this season. I just want to your point, Marcus. I think he needs that 1 or 2 episodes now to really place him as who he is as the Doctor in the greater universe, rather than the Doctor as Millie's companion.
Yeah. One more thing I just want to throw out with regards to a compliment was the memory TARDIS, because we did have a discussion on how they were going to use the Tales from the TARDIS, and how they're going to put that in, and then they just dropped the memory TARDIS, so it felt like a cutscene from that, and I thought that was exceptionally well done.
I liked it.
I kind of hope we do see the memory TARDIS again. It's a great device. But yes, I would love to see the Doctor without a companion for a couple of episodes, Christmas, and perhaps the first 2 or 3 episodes of next season, as this Doctor finds themselves.
I'm optimistic, and I think he's doing a great job. I want to see him in that. I want to see him in that. Not just being a great actor. I think he's doing a great job. I just want to see him in that bigger story, and I think that will place him. That will ground him as the Doctor when he gets in one of these stories. Then we'll say, okay, there it is. That's what we've been waiting for. That's whether it's sci-fi or fantasy, it doesn't matter. Or, whether it's back to Bridgerton or just going after the road, I don't care. I just want a big plot where there's huge ramifications. We were almost.
We just had
ramifications with a payoff, though. That's what we
right. That's the problem.
Ramifications across the board. I mean, this has been the big episode.
You're not getting bigger than the universe of death.
No, but but think of it this way: if that's in one episode instead of 2 episodes with the whole lead up of it, I just want one freaking cool ass episode of him being the Doctor, and that will be okay. That's what I get. I understand. Like, I'm seeing a lot of great comments.
Bring back Omega.
I actually don't need, like, I want people to say, oh, I want to swear right now, which I never swear on the show. I want people to come out and be like, oh, fuck, that's the Doctor that we all hate. Everybody, let's get all, like, one of my favorite episodes of Matt Smith's era was him alone on this planet living out hundreds of years because he's surrounded by every freaking enemy wants to take his head off, right? And he actually has a head. He has a head with him the whole time, which is great. I need that kind of episode with this Doctor. Yeah,
he needs, honestly, best case scenario for me, he needs a Neil Gaiman script. He needs a Neil Gaiman story, preferably a 2-parter, stripped away of kitchen sink drama of every assistants, this, that, and the other. The Doctor, the TARDIS, and look, I know you say every season or every new Doctor starts a new version of Doctor Who, which is fine, and it's a different. We know it's a different man, a woman, whatever, walks off into and to be the Doctor. But my worry is that this show, in its effort to perhaps cater to a new audience, might be annexing off and forgetting some of the older stuff. Because at the end of the day, we still want sci-fi. We want Doctor Who. We want Time Lords. We want Gallifrey. We want Daleks. We want this, that, and the other. But it's got to be good sci-fi. And just don't dilute it down to this is something that could be on fucking Nick at Night. I don't want to see that with a show that I've invested my entire life watching. And I know it's got to adapt for each audience, because each audience, they do get younger and there are new people coming through. It's like video games. It's that's something we brought us all together, and I do understand that. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Give us something to show that this is a Doctor Who story, and give us a Doctor. Give us a Doctor that we can say, "Oh, Shooty, this I get it now. I get who he is, as
Yes.
opposed to dancing.
You might not like what you get.
Yeah.
Look, if I don't like it, I don't like it. That's just the way it is. But at least
It might just build on what we've seen. Yeah.
give us a version. Give us a doctor. Right now, it's an escaped mental patient, and not in a good way.
I think to me, the doc.
Excuse me.
Capaldi. I'm just going to really quickly mention Capaldi. Capaldi was not doing it for me. His first season. I was on that path where maybe where you are right now. Yeah, with Capaldi's
I thought that first season was awful. But by the third season, his final season,
there were great.
One of the best.
Yeah. There were great episodes in the second season. Like I love the duality of like the Magician's Apprentice and which is familiar because they told sort of succinct, tight stories. Even the Zygon invasion was good. I don't like the inversion, but and then you end it on a high note with Heaven Sent, and even though Hellbent kind of went off loony bin, but you actually had some compelling gut punch plots where the Doctor went all over the unit. This Doctor, I feel like he hardly left the planet. Really kind of and maybe it was the production. You had a lot of great CGI, but he was in that same unit room. We've seen him in there like 3 or 4 times this season.
There was no sprawling alien architecture or anything. I mean, the one planet he did go to, he stepped on a fucking mine and stood in place.
Yeah.
And the other one looked like a future Earth with social media dots.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it didn't really feel like I want to see something that's just bizarro Doctor Who, and I think that could be kind of fun. Anyways,
let me throw one last thing out because Dali's going to sign us off in a sec. Proposed unit show.
Yeah.
The spinoff. Yeah. I want it. Basically, I would love for this to be much like Torchwood. I want it sweary. I want it grown up. I want it. I mean, it needs to be Torchwood 2.0 with some fucking violence and swears and sex and whatever. Grown-ups, basically, the HBO version, not the Disney Plus version.
I don't know if you're going to get that with the 13-year-old on the machine gun bike.
Well, no, he's not coming back. He's only temporary. Shirley Ann Bingham will be back next season.
They're bringing back Shirley. Oh, good.
Yeah, I did read that she was just unavailable for these shoots. So they had to write her out and put Lenny Rush in. I will say, failing that for Torchwood, for Unit, I would like them to turn it into The Office. Could you just imagine that?
Fun. Yeah, do something.
And then Unit, and it's like, and then with the Blinks. Yes. I think that I just think it'd be funny. Obviously, let's talk about one more thing. The supposed controversy that Kate Lethbridge Stewart held hands with one of her soldiers at the end.
I was just about to bring that up too. Yeah.
Was there a controversy?
I didn't know
there is a very, very huge controversy because apparently Kate Lethbridge Stewart has been claimed by the LGBTQI community, and they're very upset because they think that she should be holding hands with another lady. So
was that? Did we ever? Is that a thing, or is that just an assumed thing by fans? I don't have an opinion either way.
It's a fan thing. It is a fan thing.
But the show never said anything, right?
I don't think
no, it hasn't. And this is the thing that cracks me up. In that, I think it's kind of actually does a disservice to the character. Where just like if I looked at a woman character and said, "Well, she's supposed to be married to a man and squirting out kids and juggling everything." Then if you see a woman in a position of power with a short haircut, she's automatically a certain thing. So I'm not judging. I would like to see where this goes. Maybe she is again somebody who is bi. Who knows?
Yeah.
But for the controversy from people just to explode on Twitter that Kate, that Russell T. Davies.
Well, that's your first.
An openly gay man in Russell T. Davies on a show that has a trans woman and has an LGBTQI doctor would actually take this away from a certain section of the community. I would just like to tell them fuck off, and let's just have a little bit of perspective. If Kate wants to be with a woman, let her be with a woman. If she wants to be with a man, let her be with a man. If she wants to be with some rubber and a couple of Duracells, Sean
with the links.
It's an interesting thing because and I don't want to come across as a hypocrite because I'm so passionate about the show and I rant about this episode, but I think there's a little bit of a danger there when you invest so much of yourself into a character that you, for lack of a better word, almost become possessive of that character. Yeah. And I think that's a difference from a character that you feel can represent you or your values, or somebody you believe in, somebody you can idolize, somebody you could follow. But having not a single, again, I apologize if I'm wrong about this, not a single iota of on-screen confirmation or allusion to any of that, then be upset about something that never happened is unfortunate, because that's sort of like a side of a deep passion in the show for fandom that's kind of, to your point, Marcus, is a little bit I don't know what word to use, but like, given who's running the show and given the values of the show and what everything it's all about, I think we should scale back a little on that one. Maybe see what the character goes. I mean, there's a lot of representation now compared to 5-10 years ago.
It's a very diverse show, and
very diverse, including with the main actor. Yeah,
absolutely. I will say one more thing that was in the Doctor Who news this week. In fact, today, David Tennant, Lord bless him, came out because David Tennant is obviously a huge ally to all sorts of communities. He doesn't stand for any bigotry in any way, shape, or form. And there is a conservative politician named Kemi Badenoch. Kemi Badenoch is a woman of color who represents a fascist right-wing regime. I think there is a phrase for that sort of person in this country, but I'm not going to say it. But this woman has been staunchly anti-immigrant, anti-LGBTQ, and just generally a fucking terror, as you can imagine. She's also going to be out of work next week, which is great. And David Tennant called her out on it. And David Tennant said, I wish this woman would just go away. And she actually then played that David Tennant is telling a woman of color, who was the only woman, a conservative woman of color in the government, to go away, shows that he is patriarchal and racist and so on and so forth. And I would just like to say, anybody who knows David Tennant's work and his perspective, fuck off. Kemi Badenoch, fuck off. Rishi Sunak, fuck off. And the rest of your crew, fuck off. July the 4th is coming, and it's Britain's Independence Day, to quote John Oliver from last week. It's going to be a seismic shift where next week you fuckers are all out of a job, and the BBC will be safe, and we can look forward to many more seasons of Doctor Who pushing the envelope, being the most woke show, because it's been woke for fucking 50 or 60 years. And so good on you, David Tennant. He is the embodiment of the Doctor. That's why I think he's one of the best Doctors, in that he could be the Doctor in real life because of everything he does and the way he acts. He walks the walk, he talks the talk. Big ups to David Tennant.
Let's on that note, let's give a rating of
that's a good rant, Marcus.
How many leashes do you give this episode out of 5? Sean. I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna say 3 leashes. Sean.
Again, there's a lot of bones to this and a lot of build up to it that I liked. Thematically, the message was good, that an ordinary person can be super special. I just think too many balls were dropped along the way. I think too much was made to make us feel like we made mistakes and were silly to invest in the history. And then, of course, that undoes your desire to invest in future mysteries, which hurts a show like this. I won't relitigate the last hour of my rants, but I will say that I wished it had been better. And the execution left me wanting. I'm probably going to say 2.5, with 2.5 really carried by the performances and the acting. And then if I combine that with last week, where I was very confident he's going to stick the landing and these 2 episodes were going to be awesome, probably gives me 3 for both of them overall.
Okay. And Marcus. How many leashes out of 5?
After the first 20 minutes, it was a 10 out of 5. The last 40
was it negative?
It was a 1.
Okay.
I'm actually gonna go. If I'm looking at, I've got to say 2.5 out of 5. I really do. It was a disappointment. So
Yeah.
It's amazing. My 3 out of 5. I'm like, what's a 3 out of 5? I'm in a good place. And you guys, it's just a 2.5. We're a half a point away from each other. And
maybe
it's 2.5
maybe I should
first 20 minutes. That's it.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to realize too, Dolly. Like we've had Boom, we've had Rogue, we've had 73 Yards, we've had Dot and Bubble. We have had a lot of episodes this season where we collectively have given 4 pluses or 5. Like, again, you're right. It is funny with the context of like a 2.5 to a 3 is essentially like a 3 to 10. The way we talk about it. But to drop to a 2.5 from all the high stars we've given this it's unfortunate. It's a bummer.
I think so. I'm gonna wrap us right now because I do have to get stuff done.
Bring on Christmas! Yay! Everything's gonna be better. Christmas is the best joy of the world.
We may actually do something this summer after Dali's back from his summer
holidays. Yeah.
I think Sean raised a very interesting point last week where he talked about generational doctors and why my Tom Baker is not something that the younger generations, these young whippersnappers, might actually enjoy. And got me thinking, and I need to get.
My daughter hates David Tennant's doctor, so it's okay. Yeah.
So
what
I have proposed. What I proposed to the team is that when everybody's back from vacation and we've got 6 months ahead of us, 5 months ahead of us before the Christmas special, we tackle a vintage episode or maybe a big finish episode every couple of weeks, and we discuss them, see how they're going, because we need to be doing this on a regular basis because I'm a sad, lonely man trapped in my house, and I need to see these smiling motherfuckers on a weekly basis.
So thank you. I love seeing you guys, and hopefully you guys are smiling as well. And you guys are smiling. No, I was gonna say, yesterday was half Christmas, so we're halfway to the Christmas episode. And the other thing I was gonna say was we'll be back hopefully within the next couple weeks here. I'm out next week, so there won't be an episode next week. But y'all are used to us like skipping every other week and doing like 2 or 3 shows at a time. But
we'll see you guys all later in July, probably. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
We'll give an assignment. Maybe we'll watch. Thank you, Tubi,
Christmas,
for having some of the classic Who stuff on there. So maybe we can watch a specific serial, here and there. We can rewatch some of our more modern New Who doctors and talk about some of that stuff episode here or there.
Let's rewatch the Chibnall run from the start.
But we will do.
I'm busy that month. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. We will do more stuff over the summer here, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. And there's gonna be announcements all throughout the summer because even though this season of Doctor Who started in May, it started late, but we only have it, like you guys said, 4 or 5 months until the Christmas episode, and then the new season starts right after that. So it's going to actually be a lot quicker through this next year. This time next year,
we haven't got all day, Dali. You've got to play to catch. Come on, seriously, we're trying to wrap it up here. And
he's wrapping us up, and he's on a
I've been wrapping you guys up for the last 48 minutes. Anywho, get it? Anywho, that's a good sign off. Anywho, thank you all for joining us. You can find us at lonelytardis.com. Find us on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, on all the other places. Maybe I'll set up like a Twitch stream too. Who knows? Please rate, review, like, subscribe, do all that. It really does help. Gifts, share. Not Sunny so much, but share.
Really, you do realize there's a huge swath of the planet who doesn't know who Sunny and Cher is.
Who doesn't know who we are, which is why
you're better off saying Sunny Delight. So it's like Sunny D. Yeah.
Sharing is caring. Please share this podcast. Say, hey mom, hey dad, hey spouse. Listen to this podcast. Watch this video, please, for me, or else. We're gonna
just
have
leave
Chris
this thing on playing on. Go to bed and leave it play overnight on loop.
Over and over. What
I do.
Love ya. For myself, for Sean, for Marcus. There, no, some over there. These guys. It's always okay. I'll get it one day. Want to thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Lonely TARDIS. Wow. Didn't know we were going to dance number. That was awesome.
The Scotch hit the
Still live.
Scotsman.
Oh, come on, let's go. Her time. Can I